A very good afternoon to one and all, and a very warm welcome to Malhotra IAS. As you all know, this is one such series where weekly current affairs are taken up, and that week current affairs are dealt in a very comprehensive manner. Right? Today we'll be taking up the current affairs which are very much relevant for the geography, science and tech, and environment. And my name is Madhusudan Reddy. Let's begin with today's session. If you have been thorough with the newspapers, you might be finding articles. That articles, or first article which we'll be taking up today is that India hopes to put down roots in Arctic. There are a series of articles which you will see in the last 1 week, which you have seen in the last 1 week regarding the Arctic Council and Arctic policy that have come up, right? And there's another article which tells that hot poles, Antarctica, Arctic 40 degrees Celsius and 30 degrees Celsius above normal. And also there is another article about the Arctic which says that India unveils its Arctic policy focuses on combating climate change. The policy documents the history of the India's relationship with the regions, which can be traced back to the February 1920 when it signed the Svalbard Treaty in Paris. See, firstly we have to understand why these articles are in news. It is because India has come up with a policy. That policy is Arctic policy, which has a title that India and the Arctic building a partnership for sustainable development. With this title, the Minister for the Science and Technology has released a policy. So, in this context, firstly we will look into the relevance of the Arctic policy for the examination from the perspective of UPSC preliminary examination as well as the syllabus which falls into mains examination. Firstly, it falls into the GS paper 2 as well as GS paper 3. See, in the GS paper 2 you have a column international relations in the effects of policies and politics of developed and developing countries on India's interests. And in the GS paper 3 you can relate it with the technology, economic development, biodiversity, environment, security, disaster management, conservation, environmental pollution and degradation. This is where the article which we are going to discuss falls into. See, whenever you find 2 or 3 articles in different newspapers, and if there is something which has come up for the first time, like Arctic policy is the first time that India has come up with. Earlier, India has its journey, India also has its tie-ups with the Arctic way before, since 1920s. But since 1920, we are now able to come up with a policy only after 100 years of our tie-up with the Arctic region. So this becomes very, very important for the examination point of view. And to give you a better understanding, I wanted to show you what kind of questions are asked with respect to the Arctic. And from 2013 to say later 2020-22 tak, every year more or less there are questions that are related to the Arctic region or the Arctic impact on the nearby regions, as well as Arctic and India do have similar kind of climates. So India, especially in the Himalayan regions, there are also glaciers in Himalayas, and there are very big ice caps and polar ice sheets that are present in the Arctic region. So it becomes very much important for India to understand the Arctic region, right? So firstly, let us look into a question that has been asked in the previous year. It is a question that has been asked in the year 2014. So please make sure to answer this question in the comment section. This was a question that was asked in the year 2014. Consider the following countries: Denmark, Japan, Russian Federation, United Kingdom, United States of America. Which of the above are the members of the Arctic Council? Please post your answers in the comment section and let us see how well you are aware of. And there's another question in the year 2015. It says that the term INDARC, sometimes seen in the news, is the name of A, an indigenously developed radar system inducted into Indian defense. B, India's satellite to provide services to the countries of Indian Ocean Rim. C, a scientific establishment set up by India in Arctic region. D, India's underwater observatory to scientifically study the Arctic region. See, these are the kind of questions that have been asked in the examination with respect to the Arctic region. Along with this, there are also other questions in the mains examination. And I'll tell you one particular pattern in which the questions that have been asked with respect to Arctic every now and then when a question is asked in Arctic, there is some happening in the current affairs. So this year, India has come up with an Arctic policy, and we are pretty much sure you can find directly or indirectly a question that you can see in the examination. See, in the year 2018, there was a question, why is India taking keen interest in the resources of Arctic region? And in the year 2020, how will the melting of Himalayan glaciers have a far-reaching impact on the water resources of India? And question number in the year 2021, you see, how does the melting of Arctic ice and glaciers of the Antarctic differently affect the weather patterns and human activities on the earth? Explain. This is a 15-marker question, 10-marker question and 10-marker question. Every year there is a question, more or less there is a question that has been asked with respect to Arctic or a Himalayan climate that has been influenced, right? So in this context, let us quickly delve into the today's topic, that is Arctic policy. In order to you to understand the Arctic policy, firstly we have to go back to the 1920s. In the year 1920, there has been a treaty that has been signed in the name of Svalbard Treaty. So this treaty, in the year 1920, all the countries have agreed to that the Svalbard, which is an island that is near to the Norway, is a territory of Norway. And it has been said that in this treaty, India along with other countries have signed this treaty, stating that the Svalbard island belongs to the Norway, but there are conditions that have been put forward for that island. Article 1 clearly says that it is a treaty which gives rights to the Norway, but at the same time Article 2 and Article 3 clearly says that whatever the territorial water that is present next to the Svalbard island will have rights given to the other countries, where they can have equal hunting and fishing in territorial waters and equal access to island and territorial waters. Third being equal access to resources such as mining. That means if there is an island, that is Svalbard, 12 kilometers from the territory of this island, every country can fish, every country can hunt and every country can mine their resources. This has been considered as a treaty in the year 1920. So India is also a party to this treaty, and India also agreed that it can go and do some kind of research as well as hunt and fish in that particular island. Today's Himadri station is also present in this particular region itself. India also have a station, that is Arctic Research Station, in the name of Himadri, that is being, we in India do research at that particular place. So for you to get a better idea, firstly let me show you where exactly is the Arctic region. See. Right here, let us see the region of Svalbard. Just a minute. The island which you see here is near to the Norway. This is the island that is called Svalbard, and this island, every country, most of the countries that are present has signed a treaty with the Norway, stating that this is a territorial land that belongs to the Norway. But later on, when the United Nations Convention of Law of Seas has come into picture, they have stated that now you can have rights in the territorial water up till 12 nautical miles, and 12 to 24, from 24 to next 200 kilometers, you will have exclusive economic zone. So Norway, in a smart way, has played that only all the countries who have signed a treaty with the Norway in the year 1920, they can hunt and fish and have rights, whatever they have been given in the Svalbard are applicable only to the 12 nautical miles that are next to the territorial land. This is what the Treaty of Svalbard says, and India is also a party to this particular treaty, right? And we'll try to understand the significance of this treaty, and later on we'll also try to understand the journey of India with respect to the, just a minute. Okay, let's see. Let us now look into the journey of India. See, in the year 2007, first expedition to Arctic is that India took place, and in the year 2008, our first research base, that is Himadri, has been set up in the Arctic region. And in the year 2014, we have established an INDAC multidisciplinary mode observatory, and this is when there has been a question that has been asked in UPSC. In the year 2015, there was a question that has been asked on INDAC, right? And Himadri, in the year 2012, there has been a question on Himadri. And in the year 2016, we have again set up a laboratory in the another island next to the Svalbard, right? And for the first time in the year 2022, that is now, we have come up with a policy. So as and when there is developments in the Arctic region, we will also have questions seen in the UPSC, right? Now let us quickly delve into the Arctic policy itself, why India needs Arctic policy and what exactly is the policy says about. See, the major theme of the Arctic policy is to have a sustainable development, do some research in the Arctic region, as well as increase the presence of India in the Arctic region, right? So under this, there is a titled policy that has released India and the Arctic building a partnership for sustainable development. And who will take care of the implementation program that has been done at the Arctic? It is done by the institution called NCPOR, which is placed at Goa. NCPOR is nothing but National Center for Polar and Oceanic Research. See, this is a very important organization. National Center for Polar and Oceanic Research, and this particular organization is responsible, and the nodal agency, which is an autonomous agency, works under the Ministry of Science and Technology. It takes care about the research, it also takes care about the mining, as well as research in the continental shelf area, as well as it also takes care about the hydrates, development of hydrates, as well as other research facilities that we take at Arctic as well as Antarctic, right? Firstly, let us quickly look into what exactly is NPCOR, right? See, whenever these kind of bodies you get to see in the, what you have to do is just go into the website of the NCPOR. This is the website of the National Center for Polar and Oceanic Research. Let us try to understand what exactly this body is and what does this particular organization does. See, here the National Center for Polar and Oceanic Research is a research and development institution responsible for the country's research activities in the polar as well as southern regions, in the southern ocean regions. See here, what works does it do? It does polar science and cryosphere studies. Nextly, it also studies about the geosciences. Next, exploration for minerals and resources, especially in the regions of the continental shelf and also in the regions of the Arctic as well as Antarctic regions. And next to that, it also does scientific update, right? It also studies the impact, whatever the impact that the Arctic, if some disturbances are there in the Arctic region, this organization also studies the same disturbances and its effect on the India with respect to its monsoon, right? Next, let us go a little more in depth and indwell into this organization, because the area for asking questions with respect to prelims lies in this particular area itself, right? And there are other important activities that this organization do. See, look here, it says that polar and ocean sciences, the research that is done with respect to the polar region as well as sciences, that is oceanic sciences, and geoscientific surveys, this also done by the NPCOR, as well as extended continental shelf. As I have told you, the research in the extended continental shelf, we have continental shelves and there are also extended continental shelves. So in the extended continental shelf, research is done by this organization. Deep sea drilling in the Arabian Sea as well as deep sea drillings in the Bay of Bengal also they do. Finding out the gas hydrates, multi-metal sulfides, as well as annual scientific expeditions. The research that is done at the Maitri, Gangotri, as well as Dakshin Ganga, these are the research stations that has been present in the South Pole. India also has its research stations in the Antarctica as well. They are named after these names, that is Dakshin Gangotri, Maitri and Bharati. See, there are 3 research stations, that is Dakshin Gangotri. Maitri and Bharati. These are the research stations that are present in the South Pole, right, near to the South Pole. And there is also a research station that is present in the North Pole, that is Himadri, right. All the research, whatever that is taken place at the Maitri, Bharati and Himadri and it is taken by this particular organization, right, National Center for Polar and Oceanic Research Centers, right. Now, along with this particular organization will also takes care of building as well as monitoring the ships that are meant for traveling in the regions of ice areas, right. Okay, let us get back. Please make sure to have a good idea about this particular organization, because questions can come from any angle. Now, directly coming to the objectives of the Arctic policy, our Arctic policy has certain objectives as well as it works under 6 major pillars. First, let us try to understand the objectives and then we will get into the pillars of the Arctic policy. In the objectives of the policy, firstly, it is trying to, the main objective of the Arctic policy is to study the linkages between polar region and Himalayas. As I have already told you, in the polar regions, we also have similar climate with respect to the Himalayan region. So, it becomes very important for us to study the Arctic region. So, also we can understand the Himalayan glaciers as well as melting of the glaciers. That is the first objective of India. And the second objective is to deepen the cooperation between those countries that are present in the Arctic region as well as India. Because Arctic region is for the commons. I mean, the entire Arctic region is not owned by the countries which are present in that region. There is a separate council that is called Arctic Council. There are rights given to these Arctic Council. At the same time, there are also some other rights that are given to the observer countries that are present in the Arctic Council, right. India is also one of the observer in the Arctic Council. In the coming few minutes, we will discuss in detail about the Arctic Council as well. So for this, the second objective is to deepen the cooperation between India and the countries of the Arctic region. And the third being increase India's participation in the Arctic Council and improve understanding of the complex governance structures in the Arctic and relevant international laws and geopolitics of the region. See, it is said that by the year 2050, all the Arctic region, the jitne bhi ice hai, the ice in the Arctic region will soon melt, and it is estimated that by the year 2050, the Arctic ice might melt. So when the Arctic ice melts, navigation seems to be very easy. When navigation seems easy, exploration of oil, exploration of resources will be very easy. So India also has a stake in the Arctic region. So it is important for us to understand that particular region and understand the Himalayan region as well as the changes that impact whenever there is a melting of the glaciers. India also has its impact. I mean, India will also be impacted. So it becomes very much important for us to understand the Arctic region as well, right? Okay. And the government came up with the 6 principles of the Arctic Council. 6 principles with respect to the Arctic policy. We will be dealing with these 6 points in detail and we will try to understand what exactly are these 6 pillars. The first being strengthening scientific research and cooperation. You have to strengthen the scientific research in the Arctic region and understand the problems with respect to the future problems. That means in the year 2050, when the entire ice that is present in the Arctic region is melted. So how is India going to be impacted? So that becomes very much important for India as well. For understanding the climate and environmental protection and the linkages of the economic and human development aspects that are related with the Arctic, right? And transportation and connectivity, the 5th being the governance and international cooperation, and the 6th being the national capacity building in the Arctic region. As I have already told you, the implementation of this is done by the National Polar and Oceanic Research Center that is present in Goa, and they have said that there is a multi-dimensional approach in which the policy research as well as the research that is taking place at the Arctic is gonna take place. See, we should also look into the Arctic Council members. India has an observer status in the Arctic Council, and the members of the Arctic Council are also important. See, there are 8 member countries, all those countries which are present in the Arctic region. So, starting from USA, Canada, Denmark, Finland, Iceland, Norway and Russia along with Sweden. These are the 8 countries that are part of the Arctic Council. Along with this, there are 13 other countries which are part of the observers. These 13 countries include India as well. So, does India have a permanent seat at the Arctic Council? The answer is no. India is pushing forward for getting it a permanent seat at the Arctic Council. India has been pushed forward by the country Norway, right? Through the Svalbard Agreement. Observer status, it is open to all the non-Arctic member states along with the intergovernmental and interparliamentary, global, regional and non-governmental organizations. So, do the observers have the right to vote? The answer is no, observers do not have the right to vote, right? India do not have the right to vote, but then what is the benefit of getting the observer status? See, the benefit of getting the observer status is you can be participative, you can understand the problems that are going through, and you can also be a stakeholder in understanding the problems that are present in the Arctic region, right? Sooner or later, when the Arctic melts, the rights may not be the same rights which are present today, right? So, we should also look forward for the stand of India on the Arctic Council. India's stand is that India maintains that all human activities should be sustainable, responsible, transparent and based on respect for international laws. As I have told you, India has so far successfully conducted 13 expeditions to the Arctic Council, right? Let us quickly look into the map here. United States, see, when you turn the globe, you are looking from the North Pole, right? From the North Pole, if you see, this is the Arctic Circle, that is 66.5 degrees north, right? There, the territory of United States, Canada, Greenland, which is represented by Sweden, and Norway, Sweden, Finland, Russia, these are the countries that are part of the Arctic Council, and the rest 13 countries are your observer status. India is also one among the observers, right? So, with respect to the research stations, our research station is present here, right? India is the only developing country along with China to be part and to have a research station in the Arctic region, and this research station is in the name of Himadri, right? This is what you have to know with respect to the Arctic Council. Please make sure to remember the 6 pillars, and the kind of questions that are mostly asked from the preliminary examination are not direct questions, they are indirect questions that have been asked. So, currently in the Arctic Council there has been a push forward for the buying a vessel that can break the ice. So, India is also moving forward to buy one such vessel. So, make sure whenever there are any news articles and which organization is procuring and what are the agencies that are responsible for bringing up and the research that has been done in that region. So, how is it going to impact the monsoons? Every time whenever you get a news article, please make sure to follow up and make a note out of it, right? Okay. Our second article, which talks about the river linking project in Gujarat, protest by tribals and political implications. There's a river linkage project that has been taking up in the Gujarat region. Specifically, if you look into, there is a Partapi reserve, Partapi interlinking of rivers. In the Partapi interlinking of river project, there has been a tribal uprise and these tribal people are protesting there. See, secondly, if you go back 1 month before, there has been a budgetary sessions. In the budgetary sessions, there has been funds given for the linking up of the rivers. So in this particular budget, there has been a release of funds for the linking up of the Tapi Narmada river. Before we get any further, first we have to understand the significance of this article with respect to the examination. See, for the preliminary examination, there is a topic that is general issues on environmental ecology and biodiversity, and for the mains, it is part of your paper 3, which talks about conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, and environmental impact assessments. From this article, what you have to understand is what exactly is an interlinking river project, and secondly, what is Tapi Narmada river linking project, and the map work that is associated with this, and Tapi Narmada link project objectives kya hai, and साथ why are tribals agitating in this particular region, right? Along with that, how will the project affect the villages? See here, what is Tapi Narmada river linking project and why are tribals in Gujarat protesting against it? There has been series of articles that has been present on this particular article. So before we go any further, first we have to understand what exactly is the interlinking of rivers. In the year 1980, there has been a perspective plan that has come up. Perspective plan is national perspective plan. That means it's a perspective. You can have a perspective, I can have a perspective. Likewise, the government of India also had a perspective plan to link up all the rivers that are present in the northern region and the southern region. Those rivers which are surplus, which have surplus water, they thought of linking with the deficit rivers so that the area that is in a drought-prone region can get additional amount of water that is going into the ocean so that they can increase the amount of greenery. In order to look into the origins, Sir Arthur Carton was the one who have suggested that Ganga and Kaveri are the rivers that can be linked so that navigational purpose ke liye use kiya jaye, right? And secondly, the aim of the interlinking of the rivers program is to bring all the surplus water that are present to the deficit regions and then interlink them with the canals, right? For this, there has been a national perspective plan that has been comprised into 2 components, and under this national perspective plan, all the rivers that are present, jinke andar scope hai, those rivers have been used for linking up. So there is a proposal only. Till date, not all rivers have been linked, only few rivers have been linked. So in the Himalayan region, there are 14 rivers, and in the Peninsular region, there are 16 odd rivers. That is how the linking up of the projects are aimed at. If you see here, the red color marks is an indication to link up these rivers, right? So today we are going to discuss one such linkage of the river and why exactly is in use and why are tribals protesting, right? That is Tapi Narmada river. Tapi and Narmada river. See, with respect to preliminary examination, you have to look for the rivers that are present in this particular region. Is it a west flowing river, east flowing river, or north to south, east, south to north? These are some things which you have to look into. So this is the map of the interlinking of rivers of India. In this, 16 rivers of peninsular India and 14 rivers of Himalayan regions. Himalayan regions are mostly, they flow all throughout the year, but in the peninsular region, all the rivers are not perennial, right? They are only seasonal rivers. If we can link up the rivers of the water that are simply going into the oceans, if you can link up those into the rivers which do not have enough water, so that water can be given, water can be transferred to the nearby areas, right? See here, now we have to understand, are there any previous interlinking of river projects that have been successful? Yes, there is a project that is called Pattisima, which has linked Krishna and Godavari already, and there is an ongoing project that is interlinking of Ken and Betwa, which we have discussed in the previous classes many times, that this project is also an ongoing project. And in the budgetary sessions, 5 such rivers have been named and funds have also been allocated, right? Now the protest that is going is on the Tapi Narmada river. We'll try to understand why exactly is that protest taking place, but before that you have to understand what are the permissions that are required for getting a river linked, one river linked with another river. Earlier, the permissions that are required are, from various departments, one being from the Central Water Commission, that is techno-economic clearance, as well as forest clearance, environmental clearance from the forest department, mining clearance from the mining department, as well as the resettlement and rehabilitation plan under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, and wildlife clearance from the different ministries. So this becomes a daunting task for everyone, every department. I mean, the body that has been associated, that is National Water River Linking Department. So this body needs approval from various other bodies. Finally, the government has come up with a new body. It's a single point agenda or a single window clearance that has been named as National Interlinking of Rivers. This is not in progress. So the government has come up with an idea. It is said that this body is going to be set up. As of now, this is not set up and it is not in functional, but as and when there is these kind of news in current affairs, you can study them, right? See here, we'll quickly delve into what exactly is National Interlinking of Rivers Authority. National Interlinking of Rivers Authority, it will function as a single window body, and it will give clearances to all the required clearances in a one go. And it will replace the existing National Water Development Agency, and it will also coordinate with the neighboring countries and concerned states and departments, and will also have powers on issues related to environmental, wildlife, forest clearances under river linking projects and their legal aspects. So for any body to be successful, firstly it needs some funds. So this body is also given the rights of the funds as well. It has the nodal agency to keep the funds which are meant for taking up the interlinking of projects. So that's when a project will be successful. Now let's come back. Why exactly are the tribals protesting in the Par-Tapi Narmada river linkage, right? In order to understand that, first you have to understand the map of the Gujarat. In the map of the Gujarat, this is the per capita income water of the Gujarat in the year 2001 से लेकर 2010 तक, 2011 तक. So this map, on the northwestern side, this is called the Kutch, and this region is considered to be Saurashtra, and on the eastern side, this is your central and south Gujarat, and this is north Gujarat. There is sufficient amount of water that is present in the Western Ghats region of the Gujarat. So the central and southern Gujarat is part of the Western Ghats, which has sufficient amount of water, because in this particular region there is Sabarmati, Narmada, Tapi, Par river that are passing through this particular area. And the Gujarat, mostly the Western Gujarat, that is Kutch region as well as the Saurashtra region, they have deficit water. If you see here, there are certain numbers that are given with respect to annual numbers. These are, look here, the central and south Gujarat has 1880 meter cube per annum per capita of water. Look on the Saurashtra side, it is 540 meter cube per annum. That means this region is surplus with respect to water, this region is deficit with respect to water, right? So the idea of the Par-Tapi Gujarat linkage is that the water that is present in surplus need to be transferred to the Saurashtra region as well as Kutch region by linking up the rivers that are present in the eastern side of the Gujarat. That is, eastern side of the Gujarat generally falls in the Western Ghats, right? So here a project that has been taken up, that is Par-Tapi Narmada river. See, Par-Tapi Narmada is nothing but, there is a river called Par, it is in the southern part of the Gujarat, southeast. This is Par river, and there is a Tapi river, this is Tapi, and this is Narmada. So if one can interlink these three rivers and a canal that can be built on, and the water if that can be transferred into the Saurashtra and Kutch region, then the Saurashtra region and the Kutch region, which are deficit in water, can have utilized the water that is simply going into the oceans. It is said that the river waters from the oceans, the river water in the monsoon months generally flows into the oceans. So instead of the water that is going to the oceans, if we can construct dams, so it is said that there are 7 dams that are going to be constructed in this particular project. Those 7 dams are nothing but Jheri Dam, Palakkad Dam, Palkhe Dam, Chikkar Dam, Dabdar Dam and Kelwan Dam, right. So in this, out of all these 7 dams, 6 are in Gujarat and 1 is part of the Nashik. So, and these 6 dams are constructed in just 2 districts, that is Valsad district and the Dang district. See, Valsad and Dang district are the southeasternmost districts of the Gujarat. This is where you can see this is Valsad as well as this is Dang district. So in this particular district, if 7 dams are constructed or around 6 to 7 odd dams, the rehabilitation and resettlement of the tribal regions is a bigger task. So that is why the displacement is the issue for these tribals. So in the year 2015, there is a national perspective, under the National Perspective Plan, the Gujarat government has also come up with a plan along with the National Water Development Agency. They have given the plan and it is said that these are the areas in which the interlinking of the rivers, there is a canal that can be built. That canal goes from north to south in this way, and here you have Sardar Sarovar Dam. It is said that under the influence of gravity, if we can build the canal on the western side, under the influence of the gravity, the water flows, and for the eastern side, those areas that are present, for them, through lift irrigation projects, you can provide water. Along with this canal, you can also link up the canals. Those are called link canals. Link canals will be constructed and the additional water that is present here will be transferred to the Saurashtra region as well as Kutch region through the linking up of canals. This is the idea of the project. But the tribes that are present in this particular region are concerned because of the displacement. Why? It is because only in out of these 7 dams, almost 5 to 6 dams are constructed in just 2 districts. That means it is also said that this project is said that around 2 lakh acres of agriculture can be done when this project is completed. But there is a displacement that will be taking up, that is around 10,000 hectares of land will be submerged, and this 10,000 hectares of land will be submerged and will submerge around 330 odd villages. So it will displace somewhere around thousands of families, and these thousands of families are none other than tribals. So these tribes which are fearful of the displacement and the fear of land acquisition and rehabilitation and resettlement act which is not properly implemented, that is what the fear among the tribes, right. See, look here, let us briefly look into some facts here. As I have told you, it is part of the Western Ghats region mein surplus river jo hai, that has been transferred into the other regions. Now 7 dams, along with that 7 dams, there are going to be 2 tunnels and 395 kilometers of canals that they are going to start to construct. So whenever this construction, displacement takes place. The biggest problem with the tribes is that if a tribal people are being displaced from their homeland to a different land, they have a particular lifestyle and they have a particular habit of their living, that is they live with the environment. So if you take them and move to a different place under the land acquisition and rehabilitation and resettlement, they fear that they can no longer have the same quality of life which they are having, right. And it is about the displacement, not about the rehabilitation and resettlement. That's why there are protests that are going on in this particular area, right. Please look here from the preliminary point of view. The rivers that are in the north, there is Sabarmati, you have Mahi, then you have Narmada, then you have Tapi, and then Par, right. So if you see from north to south, Sabarmati, Mahi, Narmada, Tapi and Par. So the linking of the river is for Par, Tapi and Narmada, right. And they are present in the regions of Valsad. Valsad is a district, as well as this particular Valsad as well as the Dang district. They are going to have around 4 or 5 dams. The displacement is very huge. That is with respect to mapping, right. And the next article, Zojila Pass is now open that means people can now travel to the Leh Ladakh, right? So this news article says that Zojila Pass is open now. Let us try to look into what exactly is a Zojila Pass. Before that, see, there are particular passes that are very much important. Look here, here you have Jammu. If one wants to travel to Ladakh or Leh, they have to cross this particular pass. A pass is nothing but a road that is connecting two ranges of mountains. For example, if this is one range of mountains and this is another range of mountains, the road that connects, or the road that is connecting this particular mountain range and this particular mountain range, is called a pass. So one such pass is Zojila Pass, and it has been opened. From the mapping point of view, you have to understand that if one wants to go from Jammu to Srinagar, they have to cross Banihal Pass. And if one wants to travel from Srinagar to Leh, they have to go through the Zojila Pass. And there's another pass that is called Baralachala. Baralachala is nothing but if one wants to travel from Himachal Pradesh to Leh, from the eastern side also they can travel, that is called Baralachala Pass, right? This is with respect to mapping. And there's one interesting question that has been present in the Hindu newspaper. So one of my students shared it to me. I also would like to share it to you here. Look here, it would be great if you can answer this. See, Mount Kenya, Africa's second highest peak, was once thought to be 1000 meters higher. Why? As of now, the current height of the Mount Kenya is around 5900 odd meters. Earlier, this particular mountain's height used to be somewhere around 7000 meters. Why has the mountain's height decreased from 7000 meters to 5900? This is the yesterday's Hindu newspaper. In that, there is a quiz that has been conducted, and the second one is, X is the tallest mountain on the earth, much taller than the Mount Everest in fact. What is X and what quality about it strips it of the honor of being widely regarded as the tallest peak? So if you know, Mount Everest, if you measure it from the surface of the earth, it is the tallest peak. But if you measure the mountain as such, there are peaks that are present underwater also. From the underwater, if you measure, there is another peak which is taller than the Mount Everest. If you know, please comment down in the comment section, or the answers will be provided in the Telegram channel. You can also come and pick up into the Telegram channel, and make sure to download this particular PPT from the Telegram channel. That will be, the link of the Telegram channel is provided in the description itself. And tomorrow, Snigdha ma'am will be taking up the international related current affairs that are present in the last 1 week. If you have watched till here, please make sure to like it and subscribe to this channel, so that every day you get notified as and when we come up with the quality content. Thank you and take care.